Right, I don't know if you can see in there, there's see the writing and the line FT, which means basically front top dead centre. Now another thing to note, see there on the threads, there's like a slot in the threads. That is where you want to be lining. You'll have to excuse this camera work, it's a bit awkward to get at. The line that's on the thing wants to be lining up with that. Right, I'm just going to knock you off again a sec and put you back on the tripod. Right, valve clearances. On the inlet, they want to be anywhere from 4 thou to 8 thou, which is 0.10, I think, up to 0.20. So what I'll do is I'll go to the middle of and I'll go to 6 thou, and you slide it in underneath the valve. Now 6 won't go in, so I'll swap it over for a 5. Right, and the 5 goes in, so that's handy. Now that means that the inlet clearances are fine, they're well within spec. Now the exhaust is 10 thou, 8 thou up to 12 thou, and which is, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 20 up to 30, like 0.20, 0.30 mil. I just need to tighten these up a little bit, wobbling about everywhere. So we'll start with an 8. If I can get it in. No wonder it wouldn't go in. Picked an 18 thou, that is. Right. Right, so there we go, 8 thou. So we'll start with the 8 thou. The 8 thou goes in, so swap it over for a 9. Right, this is a 9 thou. So the 9 goes in, and it's a bit tighter, but the 8. So you've got the 9 goes in, so that's sort of midway, and that was midway as well actually. So the valve clearances on the front cylinder are fine. So I sort of had an idea that this thing would be fine because it runs so smoothly, you know, it doesn't like splutter, or it's not lumpy, it doesn't chuck guffs of smoke out like that. So I wasn't expecting it to be well out of spec. So right, I'll knock you off, set you up for the rear cylinder, and we'll get that get the rear top dead centre, and we'll check the clearances on the rear. Back in a minute. Right, I've just switched you back on again. I'll just zoom in a little bit. Right, if you can notice there where the cams are pointing, I meant to point this out to start with. When your front cylinder's on top dead centre, the highest point of your lobe, which would be where your cams, your valves at its full open, they're pointing away from each other. Now on the rear cylinders, I'll show you obviously when I get it there, but they'll be sort of more pointing towards each other. So you'll know when you're on top dead centre on there and your cams are in that position, you're ready for your checks on there. Right, I'll knock you off again. Right, I've rotated it round. I want to try and show you this in a mirror view. Right on there, you can, if I can get it positioned a bit better, you can see the letters and the line, and you can make out that it's RT, so that's rear top dead centre, and the line, if I can get that, the line is in line again with that slot in the threads. And just to point out that I was trying to explain earlier, see where the position of the cams, they're pointing up towards each other like the top of the lobes, so you know that's in the right position. So I'll just knock you off a sec and get back on tripod, and then we'll check the gaps. Right, check the inlet first again, and we'll start off with the 4th thou, which goes in no problem. Oh, that one's obviously got caught. Right, so the 4th thou goes in no problem. Try and find the 5. This is 5th thou. And that goes in, you can feel the friction on that actually. So that's 5th thou. Get the 6. The 6 won't go in there. So that's 5th thou clearance on the front. So on the rear, we'll start off with the 8. The 8 goes in no problem. 9. So 9. I'll try the 10, but I don't think that's going to go in. No, same as there. So you've got the 9th thou clearance on the back and 5th thou clearance, sorry, 9th thou clearance on the exhaust and 5th thou clearance on the inlet. So again, they're in spec, so that's fine. So what I'll do now is I'll give a bit of a wipe off round where the gasket goes, and on the front and rear head rockers, cams, whatever you want to call it. And then I'll come back and we'll start putting it back together. Okay, that's it for now. Right, just a quickie for you. I was on about I'm going to clean the surface here of where the gasket's going to sit. If you look in there, I'll zoom in a bit, I've cleaned that out nice and smooth and clean. There's still a bit to clean. Get this camera to look in the right spot. Where are we at? There we go. In there, see the black lines? That's the old gasket. What happens, I'll keep this camera steady, what happens is that after a period of time the gasket sticks. See, that's like a rubber, you can see it flapping there. Now when you clean these gasket surfaces off, make sure that you get all that out. That's part of the old gasket, and this is why I say use a new gasket as well. When you take the old gasket off, it's stuck to the surface and it pulls part of the gasket off. So even if you clean it properly, like that one there, when you go back on, the ridges that are in the new gasket are missing. On the old gasket, the ridges that are on them when they're new aren't there anymore because they're stuck to this surface. Where's the freaking camera? Yeah, they're stuck in there. So when you put the old gasket back on, 9 times out of 10 it won't seal. So it'll leak, and that's why you should always use a new gasket. So I just thought I'd point that out to you, and that's what it should look like. Not that. So I'll knock you off again. I'll come back when I've cleaned them up, and we'll as I say, I've got new gaskets, so we'll get it all put back together. Right, cleaned the surfaces up, and we're going to get new gasket. Bag. Right, I don't know how well this will show up, but there's like little tiny ridges in there, and that's what I was showing you earlier, which is stuck inside there. So basically, get your gasket fitted into your cover. And what you also want is a new gasket for there. That's where your spark plug would go through, from the other side obviously. So I'll get the new gasket for that. And just sit that in place. Right, what I also do on on these bits here where you've got your, goes into where your ends of your cams are, is I put a bit of 3 bonding, because on these covers the area that is most likely to leak is these bits here. So just put a bit of three bond liquid gasket just in there. Didn't need massive amounts. The good thing about 3 bond is if any of it was to get inside your engine, it breaks up. I mean, obviously not massive amounts. If you get massive amounts in, you're doing something drastically wrong. But a tiny little bit, it'll just break up. Whereas if you use like a silicon based gasket sealer or silicon, which I've seen before, then that doesn't break up and it can clog an oil way or something. Right, cover back on that, top should I say. Stick that over to one side. Wipe this stuff off with glove. Right, so once you've got your gasket sat in all the way around properly into the cover, just get it into position, pull the wiring loom out of the way. Right, just be careful when you're pushing these in that it actually goes in properly at this end, and that them half round bits actually go properly into place. And then just push the rest of it, make sure the gasket's still sat in properly all the way around. Just get my torch. Right, that's spot on. So, next thing is where your bolts go in. New washers, and they're like rubber coated. So if you notice, one side's got like notch marks on it. Don't know how well you'll see it on the camera, you might not see it at all. And the other side is just ribbed for pleasure. So the ribbed side goes down. So what I'll do is I'll just put a little coating of, if I can get it back out, I'll just put a light coating of oil on these. So I'll just be a sec. Right, just a light coating of, I wish I'd got them all out before I put oil all over my fingers. Right, next one. Same thing, light coat of oil on. Do that with, I like all 4 of them. Right, just wipe this off my fingers. I'll find a rag. Right, and get the bolts. And just start feeding the bolts in. Right, and these bolts torque down to 14 Newton meters. So I'll just get the torque wrench. Set it up for 14. Oh. Right, and that's your cover back on. So, if I can find it again, it's up here. Plug your cam position sensor back in. Remember that wire came across and up here. Just hold that in place there. You can also push your breather pipe back on. Clips under there for it. So that's your breather pipe back on. And what I'll do, I'll just feed that plug wire, shove that wire in back down out of the way. I'm just going to sit the plug cover in. I'm not putting the plugs back in because obviously there's new ones coming for it. So that's your rear cover back on and torqued up. Always as I say, always use new gaskets. It's quite a bit of work to get to this position as it is now, just to, you know, if you've put it together with using your old gaskets and the leak, you've got all this stuff to take back off again just to sort it. So it's worth doing it right while you've got it out, while you've got it in bits. So I'll knock you off for now and we'll get on to the front one. Right, I've got the front rocker box gaskets on, new gaskets. I've already put the sealer on for the where it goes into these half moon shaped things. So I've also cleaned all the gasket surface. I did that at the same time as I did the back one. So just get your cover in position. Push it on. Right, I've also already done the washers on the bolts. Give them a little light coating of oil. So get your bolts on in position and screwed in. And then same as the rear cylinder, torque these up to 14 Newton meters. Right, and then find me it's hiding. Get all this back in position in here. Right, put the breather pipe back on. Clip over. That's front rocker cover in place. And same thing. I'll put the plug lead in, but it won't be having a plug in it yet. Right, and that's it for now. So I'll stop you for now and we'll actually we'll get the plug put back in on I'll just knock you off for a second, I'll come back in a minute. Right, we're just going to put this timing mark plug back in. So I've put a tiny little bit of thread sealer on the threads, not a locker, just a sealer. You see it just oozed out then. And this just nip it up, it doesn't need to be tight. It doesn't need to be tight like that fucking thing was. And just get a rag and just wipe off the excess that's come out. Right, and that's as far as we're going for now. So, knock you off for now.